What is feminism?
What do you think is the definition of feminism?
So I think that feminism was the like movement to insert woman in the society and for her to have the same, let's say, rights that are not written, like laws that are not written, that woman can do this, woman can do that, as men.
Okay, so I'm sitting here with one, and I'm gonna ask him some questions about feminism. Obviously, in some countries in the Middle East, such as Saudi Arabia or perhaps other countries, many women are being discriminated against, and they are forced to wear ways they have to. They're forced to behave in a certain way. But in the world we live in, like Brazil and perhaps the United States or even Europe, do you think feminism is still a necessity for society?
I feel like in the Middle East, it's been like that for generations. So generations and generations, men are put in superior than women. Men have more power than women there, and therefore the discrimination in these types of places is bigger. And it's part of their culture, so it's not something you can just stop from one day to another. You understand?
Yeah.
So I feel like in the U.S., it's not that big of a thing because they do have established society. In that society, it isn't as let's say, sexist, leaning towards men, as in the Middle East.
But do you think that it is a necessity to enforce the feminism in those countries? Do you think we have to, or that the society is already like established?
I feel like we don't have to actually.
We don't have to.
No.
All right, thank you. In the society, in more developed places, excluding the Middle East, like in the United States, I mentioned before, Europe, in Brazil, who do you think has more privileges, men or women?
I think that's a no-brainer. You have to say it's men. Men do have more rights than women. It is. There's no doubt about it. I mean, society for many, many, many years, since the beginning of times, men are placed superior than women. So, but I feel like in the Middle East, for example, it gets to an extreme. You know, while in the U.S., in the job market, women gain way less than men. So I think it's still predominant in society today. Men are very superior.
Okay. One, as a very close friend of yours, I'd like you to answer this question the way you can, the more truthful way you can. Okay. So let's say there's someone that's 1 or 2 years younger than you, and therefore physically weaker, not too much, but it is physically weaker, and this person's harassing you, perhaps beating your girlfriend or something. Would you physically hit back if the person would hit you?
I think, of course, like it's a human instinct. If someone is doing that to you, you do it back, right?
Yeah, you think it's natural for us to hit back someone that's hurting us in some way?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got a different question for you. Suppose that person is actually a woman that's hitting you physically, hurting you. Would you hit back?
I wouldn't beat her up because she's a woman, right? So woman, I don't because people will look at you and they will be like, dude, this guy's crazy. He's beating on a woman. That's cowardice.
So you think that a society would condemn you for hitting the woman?
Probably.
And you think they'd be condemn you much more than they would if you were to hit just a little bit physically weaker man?
Probably.
All right. Okay, Judy, I'm gonna ask you some questions about feminism. And the first one, where do you think that feminism has gone too far in this Occidental society, like in Brazil, United States? Do you think it's gone too far, or do you think that it's just the right amount?
Well, I think that in some specific countries, yes, it's gone too far. But I think that in other countries, in the Occidental world, it's really people know how to use feminism.
Can you give us some example in which it's gone too far, and examples in which it's just the amount, right amount?
Well, because feminism is the equality between man and woman, and when it's gone too far is when women start to think that they are better than men, and that's not what actually feminism is.
Do you think that this process of women thinking they're better than men happens a lot, or is it just a minority?
Well, I think it's minority.
But in Brazil, do you think feminism stands for the equality, or do you think that it's being forced more that women are superior to men in some ways?
I think that women in Brazil, most of them, they have the wrong definition of what is feminism.
Okay, thank you. Now I have another question. Most feminists, when we ask about them whether it's gone too far, they use the domestic violence argument, in which many women are still suffering from men, and this is right. This is correct because many men are just a little crazy and they hit women in a way they shouldn't. What's the percentage you think that men suffering, not women?
Well, I don't know. I think it's pretty low, like 10%, 15%.
Would you be surprised if I told you it's actually 40?
40?
Yes.
Yeah. that's a lot.
All right. Okay, Renata, I got some questions for you about violence, and I'd like you to answer them as honest as you can. The first one, I'll ask you to suppose you're in the middle of an argument with a friend of yours, a girl, just a 1 or 2 years younger girl. So means she's a little weaker. Okay, physically, and she slaps you in the face. All right, like in a pretty strong way.
Okay.
Would you hit her back?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
No.
So what would you do?
I would be like, bitch, stop. No, I'm just kidding. Like, in the world that we live, it wouldn't be okay for a boy to hit a girl, but a girl to hit a boy. And I see that, but I think it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
if you're hitting someone, it's like genderless. However, usually boys are stronger
Yes.
and girls are weaker. I'm not saying this is true, but like sometimes. And sometimes boys are much more violent than girls. Like if the guy comes to you and says, "Wow, you have big tits," that's harassing. But it's like you can say, "I don't like that. Stop." If the person stopped, okay? But if the guy said once again, I would say hit them. you know. But
All right, now I got a different question.
yay.
Excessive. Like they would say that feminism does not stand for equality, but for a woman being superior. Would you agree with that, or do you think that the meaning is being forced the right way?
I'd say that that's what some people are trying to implement, right? The meaning of a word like feminism and a movement like it really depends, in my opinion, from person to person, and what they feel it's right or wrong. But what I really think in that meaning is that people are just talking too much about it instead of like letting society sort itself out. They just want to talk about it and how women don't have this, women don't have that, but they don't value what women have. Like they always compare it to the man, but in my opinion, like people are different. It's really a case to case scenario.
So would you agree that men have certain privileges and women have certain privileges that they don't necessarily have? Like women can have some privileges that men don't have, and men can have some privileges that women don't have.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's the right situation because men are men and women are women.
And neither of them is superior.
None of them is superior. They're just equal, but in different ways.